Hey everyone, it's John here from Hot Take Hockey, back with another video, and this video is going to be my 2021 fantasy hockey preview video for the NHL, so I hope this video does help you with your drafting. If you are new, welcome to the channel. Please smash that like button and definitely leave your thoughts in the comment section. So I'll be going through my musts, my busts, a new category, my must sleepers, and also some sleeper picks. So thank you for clicking on the video, and let's get right into it, starting with some musts. So these are like the obvious ones for me. So McDavid, Draisaitl, Barkov, Huberdeau, some of the better duos in the league. Roman Josi, I would also throw in John Carlson in there. I think those two defensemen, they're guaranteed to get you power play points, even strength points, get you some goals. If those guys are available early, couple rounds, I would look out for them. Artemi Panarin, I think again, the Rangers, they don't have enough of the star power yet. So I do think Panarin's going to go off again this year. Maybe not as much as last year, but he is a must for me in the first round. Maybe later in the first round, but I would say in the first five, I would go elsewhere. Crosby, I've seen some drafts, especially on Yahoo, where Crosby sneaks into that second round, and I would definitely look out for that. Vasilevsky, I still think the Lightning are the most dominant team in that Central Division, so I would go Vasilevsky. Matthews, Marner, Anderson. I would rely on Anderson a lot more this year, especially with the Leafs improving on the defense. And Matthews and Marner, you can't go wrong with them. I would go Matthews top five. If he's there by like pick 5, pick 6, select Matthews, no question. Braden Point, I think especially with Kucherov out, and we don't know the status with Stamkos, I think you have to pick Braden Point early on. Ovechkin, I think he's guaranteed for 30 goals probably. That's kind of what we expect from him, especially in a shortened season here. So Scheifele, Laine, and Connor. I've seen a lot of hot takes about Connor going off for goals. I think Laine will go off for goals as well. And Scheifele, for me, is always consistent on fantasy, so I would go for him. All right, so more musts. I threw in Jack Eichel in there as well, because I think if Jack Eichel, same thing with Matthews, if he's in around 5 or 6 and you're pick Eichel. SVECH, Aho, I think those two guys are going to go off this year. I would also, maybe a low-key sleeper, but I don't have him here, is like Teravainen. I mean, if Teravainen slips in your draft and goes a few rounds farther down, I would pick Teravainen, obviously. GAUDREAU and KACHUK. I mean, I want to rely on Lindholm and Monahan. I just think GAUDREAU's going to bounce back, and I think KACHUK's the guy in Calgary right now. I would go those two guys. McKinnon and MAKAR, those are the two guys for me in Colorado. Pierre-Luc Dubois, he just signed a 2-year, $5 million per extension. I think he's about to go off this year. Look what he did in the playoffs. I think he's about to go off. Select Dubois if he slips. Patrick Kane, you're talking about a TOEWS injury, Kirby Dach, some of the guys are going down. Pick Patrick Kane. I don't care if Patrick Kane's overall game is slipping. His offensive game is still there. Pick Patty Kane. MIRO HEISKANEN, I think he's going to be the guy on the back end for the Dallas Stars. I believe he will take the reins for a lot of the number one power play units, I would expect. So, pick Heiskanen. And I guess I put GAUDREAU and KACHUK there twice. So, extra emphasis. Pick GAUDREAU and KACHUK. I guess that was a mistake I didn't realize ahead of the video. But yes, pick GAUDREAU and KACHUK. Quinn Hughes, definitely select him. And Couture and Hurdle. There you go. I mean, San Jose, we don't know what kind of year they're going to get, but I think if Couture's healthy, and I would rely on Hurdle as well. So those are the guys to pick. All right, some busts. All right, so maybe a couple hot takes here. Shane Gostisbehere, give up. It's done. You might bounce back, but Provorov's ahead of him on the power play, and a couple other guys 5-on-5. Gostisbehere might even be scratched or traded. See you later. Braden Holtby, I would not rely on picking Holtby early. You know what? Maybe if it's like the later rounds, you need a goalie, maybe. But I would not pick Holtby at all. I think Demko has shown he can be the guy in Vancouver. I think it's going to be a split tandem. I would be shocked if Holtby played more than 35 to 40 games this year. And that's in a Canadian division. So I would not pick Holtby early. Sharks tandem. Obviously, I think this is a more obvious one. Do not touch the Sharks tandem. Like, do not touch them. You know what? If one of the goalies start doing well, then you pick them up on waivers. Do not select one of the Sharks goalies. And tandems in most cases. Like, I would not rely on picking one of the Rangers or the Blue Jackets. Some of these tandems, just don't touch it. Like, why not? Here's my thing. If you have a starter like John Gibson, I would give a chance on John Gibson more than I would for one of the goalies in Columbus. That's just my opinion. Because if you're thinking about it, John Gibson's going to get way more starts and more wins. I think, you know what, you might take a chance on one of the Blue Jackets tendies, or for maybe the Rangers, you take Shesterkin. But for like Vegas, for example, I would not pick Fleury or Leonard early. I just wouldn't do it. That's my opinion. I'm giving you guys advice right now. I would not pick Fleury or Leonard early. Devon Toews. I would have picked him as a sleeper last year with the Islanders. Do not touch him with the Avalanche. He is like third or fourth. You know what? He might get second power play time, but he's not going to get the most minutes. They signed him as kind of like that middle, second to third pair guy. MAKAR's your guy there. You have Graves. You have Girard. You have too much competition there. Do not touch Devon Toews. GABRIEL Landeskog. I just think there's too much hype around him, and I think with Brandon Saad and some other offensive players coming into the picture with the Avalanche, I would not touch Landeskog until maybe later into the draft. I'm seeing some people select him really early or like in the first few rounds, and I'm like, okay, that just can't happen. So I wouldn't do that if it's early on. So that's why he's a bust if he's picked that early. Max Pacioretty, I think after last year, people are expecting him to go off again. Man, he's older now. And I do rely on a few other players on Vegas. I would not touch Pacioretty early on. And Brent Burns, I'm just saying he's more a bust because I would go Carlson this year over Burns. I think Carlson's going to bounce back. Burns is getting older. He's shown that he's getting slower. You know what? He might go off for points, but I would not pick Brent Burns early on to be one of your top defensemen. Maybe I'm wrong on this take, but I would not be confident taking Brent Burns early on. Must sleepers. So these are the sleepers you must take. That if you're sleeping on them, why are you sleeping on them? Charlie McAvoy. Krug's gone. Chara's gone. McAvoy's going to get insane minutes. He's going to get top power play minutes. I would expect him to get top power play units. He better be getting top power play units. Pick Charlie McAvoy. Morgan Rielly. I don't know why Rielly's getting slept on. I mean, maybe I don't even include him in a sleeper here, but I just wanted to make the point of, like, I'm seeing Rielly slip. I'm seeing CHABOT slip. Like, why are these guys slipping? They've shown to put up serious power play points for you, serious 5-on-5 points. And Rielly was hurt for like half the season last year. And CHABOT's had injury issues. But when they're healthy, they've shown to be like top defensemen for fantasy. Pick them. ILYA Samsonov. Especially with Lundqvist not playing. Like, pick him. If Samsonov is there after the first like 5 to 10 goalies get picked, pick Samsonov, man. I don't think he's being slept on by too many people, but by some people, like, they're just forgetting about him. Pick him. Kirill Kaprizov. Kaprizov needs to get picked. The Minnesota Wild do not have too many offensive weapons. Kaprizov is going to come in, and I'm not saying he's getting a point per game, but he's going to get a lot of points. Pick him. If he's there by the second half of your draft, consider picking him. Dylan Larkin, Jake DeBrusk, Alex DeBrincat. All three of these guys, if they're available by later in your draft, it shouldn't be a question. I don't know why I'm seeing drafts where DeBrincat is like getting slipped so far down, or Jake DeBrusk is getting slipped all the way to the end. You need to understand the situation for the Boston Bruins. No Pasternak, no Marchand to start the season. Who's going to get your points? DeBrusk will be on the top power play unit and getting major points. He might even start the year on the top line with Bergeron. Get DeBrusk on your team if he's there at the end. Dylan Larkin, Jake DeBrusk, DeBrincat. I think all these guys are due for a bounce back year. Pick them. And sleepers. Dennis Gurianov. You saw what he did in the playoffs. I would select him if it's like late. Select him late. I don't think you'd regret it. Don't just get ahead of yourself and pick him early. But if he's there late, select him. Why not? Unless there's better options. Ilya Sorokin, I think this is a chance you're taking here, and it's a tandem with Varlamov. But I have this weird feeling about Sorokin. I wouldn't be surprised if Varlamov goes through a rough kind of stretch of games and Sorokin goes off. So maybe if you want to hold on, you have a big bench, you want to hold on to a third goalie, or a second goalie, Sorokin might be your guy. I wouldn't rely on him to be like one of your starters if you have better options, but Bobrovsky's a guy I would maybe rely on as your second goalie. I think the Panthers are going to get a string of wins. Bobrovsky's going to bounce back in some way. I think I would pick Bobrovsky as your second goalie. I would not pick Bobrovsky early, but last year, a lot of people picked him early and it failed. So I think a lot of people are scared to pick Bobrovsky, and that's why he's slipping so far down. So if he slips far down, he's a sleeper. Pick him. Raquel and Keller. I just think they're due for big years. Raquel is like one of the last experienced offensive guys in Anaheim, and Keller had a garbage year. He's going to bounce back. I don't know how much he's going to bounce back, and that's why I'm saying if it's towards the end of your draft, consider taking Keller. Alex Tuch, I think he's also underrated. He's a sleeper here for me. And Nick Suzuki, I don't know why he's underrated. He could be getting top power play time, and he'll likely be on what I'll call the top line for the Canadians. So I would look for Suzuki. And Jason Zucker, he put up, 12 points in 15 games when he joined the Penguins, and then, only 2 points in 4 games, and they choked against the Habs. But Zucker is showing that he could be dominant with the Pens. So what I'm thinking is if he plays with Malkin, and I didn't even mention Malkin as a must, consider taking Malkin, obviously, if it's like the second round. But Zucker, if it's late, I would consider taking Zucker. And then my last round of sleepers here, Evgeny Dadonov, just by default, is going to get points with Ottawa. There's not many huge offensive weapons. Ottawa brought him in. I could see him getting a lot of points. Sam Reinhart, if he plays on a line with Hall and EICHEL, or is on that top power play unit, but it could be Olofsson, and that's why maybe Olofsson's the sleeper here. Again, I had Olofsson as a sleeper last year, and it panned out. But Reinhart could be the guy that you pick if it's late. And Jonathan Drouin, if it's late, again, he could be in for a bounce back year. I would look out for that. Nikita Gusev, he showed flashes last year. Look out for him as a sleeper. I'm telling you right now, if it's late in the draft, consider Gusev. Martin Necas, I'm waiting for this guy to completely break out. If he plays in a top 6 role and power play time, I could see him getting some. Again, this is like a late draft pick. Kaapo Kakko and Lafreniere, for me, shouldn't be too much of a sleeper. I think if he's available later in your draft, pick him. Pick Lafreniere. He's going to get points this year. If he stays healthy, he's going to get points. And Kaapo Kakko, for me, again, if it's super late, consider taking him. I'm not too confident in Kakko, as much as Laf, obviously, but I do think if it's like late and you want to take a shot, then take Kakko. Same thing with Jack Hughes. If it's late and you want to take a shot at him, he could bounce back and have a good second year, and I wouldn't be surprised. And I just want to mention at the end here, also look out for the injured players like Pasta, Marchand, Sagan, Tarasenko. I've been noticing in just mock drafts, if Sagan and Tarasenko drop to the very end, maybe consider taking them as your very last pick and then just put them on your injured reserve and then pick up a guy on waivers. It might be a smart move. Also, Marchand and Pastrnak, they're obviously slipping a little bit, not a crazy amount, but Pasta would be a first round selection. He's slipping to the 4th round in some cases. So if you're a patient fantasy player and you're confident in your team in the first couple of rounds and you think you're a good drafter, then consider taking Pastrnak. Be patient for the first month, and then when he comes back, your team's going to look solid. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you are new. Smash that like button. This was John from Hot Hockey. Hopefully these fantasy tips help you. And good luck on fantasy this year. Try to get that dub and tell them HCH got you that win. All right. Have a good one. Peace.